We were supposed to have Will yesterday. There was a little bit of a lack of communication on that, so we both apologize. So we have Will from the Pyramids and Tim Fitzpatrick from the Lively Ones. Mr. Jonpaul Balak is going to interview both of them. So here we go.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, one more big round of applause for Jeff this morning to start off the day. Thanks, Jeff, for all your hard work and everything. Thank you guys for being here early. I know it's a struggle, but you know your dedication is much valued. This is going to be cool. So, you know, we're at a time where there are less and less original first wave guys that we can get firsthand information from. And we're very, very blessed and lucky and grateful today to have two of the legends from the first wave. Will Glover from the Pyramids, and Tim Fitzpatrick, of course, from the Lively Ones, and many other bands before, which hopefully we'll get into. We'll have enough time to discuss that. And, you know, I'm kind of actually happy the way this turned out, because I think this perspective, having both of them here together at the same time, is even more interesting. You know, because we always think of the Pyramids as the Long Beach guys, and the Lively Ones as the Orange County guys, right? And to have, okay, so like the LA guy and the OC guy together, and maybe find out where their, you know, their lives intersected and where that stuff happened. And I mean, the first obvious question, and this is gonna be very kind of stream of consciousness. We're gonna kind of go see where it takes us. But the first thing I want to know personally is, did you guys ever play together?
I think we did. I don't remember.
Okay.
I think we did.
Yeah.
I do.
You must have, right? At some point.
I'm sure that we did some gigs with you guys.
Okay.
I'm sure we did.
That's cool.
I remember saying, hey, we're going to do some gigs, a gig with the Lively Ones. And I went, wow.
So that's the next thing is so you remember the Lively Ones being around. You remember, like, you know, at the time, they're your contemporaries. You're in the Pyramids, you're thinking, oh man, the Lively Ones down in Orange County. What was your thinking? What was your thoughts? What was your perspective on the Lively Ones at the time? And then I'm going to ask you the same thing about the Pyramids.
Well, I just thought that, man, these guys are great. Although I had never seen them. But I said, these guys are great. They have to be. They got a record out, right?
Did you listen to the records?
Of course I did.
Okay, so at the time, you are going out and getting your, not competition, but your compadres, your colleagues' records. Because you gotta figure everybody's checking everybody out, right? Like, oh, what do they sound like? What's their record like? What did they do? How's that different from what we're doing?
Well, I have to clarify one thing.
Yeah.
The Pyramids were not an instrumental band.
Right.
That's the first thing. The Pyramids were more of a vocal band. And what happened is, Penetration was like a fluke. Just like thank you very much for helping me with that. Surfer Joe, the Surfer Joe was being played, and then it got flipped, and boom. Next thing you know, the other side is a big hit. That's what happened with Penetration. There was a song out called Here Comes Marcia that I wrote. It was being played, guy goes to the bathroom, flips it over, bam, next thing you know, it's a hit. And that's what it was.
The interesting thing to me always with that is that was much later in the game. We're talking about 1964 at this point.
Right.
So things have peaked in 63, we're getting into 64, you guys are still rocking, you do this great vocal tune, your vocal tune.
But the funny thing is, I don't know how those dates get mixed up. 1963 is when I graduated, I was still in high school, and we're doing that interview with Dick Clark. So I keep hearing the 64. It can't be 64, it had to be 63 because we're on Dick Clark in 63. Right?
Well, every reference I've looked up, when the liner notes and stuff, always says 64.
Yeah, I know. How is that possible?
Well, no, I mean, but Will, this is the cool thing about doing this stuff at Surf Guitar 101, because we can state the truth. We can get the truth out there.
Well, all you have to do is pull your phone out right now. And am I too loud, sir?
No. The pressing on best was maybe early, and then the United States reissued
was on London. It was on like 3
Right.
different labels, you know. But anyway, so it says 64, right?
Right.
But I was in high school in 63 is when I graduated.
Uh-huh.
And that's when we did the interview with Dick Clark.
Okay.
So, but I don't care.
Right on. But you were saying your thing was you were mostly a vocal band. You're saying.
Okay, this is how it happened.
Yep.
One day Skip sees me out there. I'm playing my guitar and I'm having a great time at this tree in front of Polly. And he sees all these girls sitting in front of me. And he goes, you know what? To himself, I want to be a part of that. And so that's how he and I got together. He said, would you teach me how to play guitar? So I said, okay, I'll show you what I know. But I'm mostly a vocalist, man. I want to be Johnny Mathers. That's what it was. And that's what I did all the time. I just sang all the time. And so finally, he and I got together. We put together this two-piece band. We had this guy playing bass for us with a guitar. Can you imagine that? And all of a sudden, we had taught Steve Leonard how to play bass, and he wrote Penetration behind our backs, by the way. He wrote Penetration, and he wouldn't show it to us because he was afraid that we were going to give him a bad time because he wasn't that good of a bass player. And so he worked it out with some other guys, and then he snuck it into us. He said, well, listen to this. In his little recording studio at his house. And we go, wow, man, that's great. So we put it down, bam.
That's cool. That's cool. Now, is it true that it originally had a different title? And the second thing that you always hear is, you know, obviously, was it inspired by Pipeline?
Well, it was inspired by Pipeline. I don't have to give him that. Anyway,
They say eyeball, right?
how did you hear that story?
Just research, you know, you do your research, you come up with this stuff.
So you know the real title of it?
No, I'm asking you. Now you gotta lay the story out.
Chrome done it in the balls. was the original title, and we said, well, Stu, you can't name it that. So he says, I'm going to name it Penetration. His mother says, you can't name it that. We did. That's history.
Wow, that's cool. That's great. Now, where did you guys meet? Did you guys all meet at Poly High?
So we all went to Paul.
Okay. So it's the typical thing. Guys meet in high school. Hey, you're into music. Yeah, let's form a band. What do you play? Yeah, you play.
Well, the thing is, they didn't play. I was the only one that played. Yeah. And they basically, it was one of those things, like I said. Skip saw me, he saw the girls, he wanted part of that.
Typical.
And what happened is, I started playing chords for him. He's like the cleanest guitar player I've ever known. Skip. He's the cleanest guitar player. I don't know if you ever listen, well, you've only heard him play Penetration. But if you ever hear him play anything else, he's like the cleanest guitar player. You never hear him hit other strings. It's just amazing. But he had this bad thing that he learned from Dick Dale, where he played like this. He could never be funky like me, because he plays like this. So he could never do some of those things. But he's very, very clean, very, very good. I have to give it to Skip. If you're listening, Skip, I'm shouting out to your brother. You're a great guitar player, in my opinion.
Now, we want to make sure we get some time with Tim, so we'll get over to kind of on that wave. But you mentioned the man, you mentioned the king, you mentioned Dick Dale. Did you guys get down to the Rendezvous and see the show?
Of course we did.
Yeah?
In fact, we played the Rendezvous. Skip was like a little girl, as far as Dick Dale was concerned. He'd be out there like a girl, like, I couldn't believe this man. What are you doing, man? Look at all these girls. Are you watching this guy?
So he was an early surf nerd, typical surf nerd.
I couldn't believe it, how he hung near the stage, and I'm out there trying to get to know Sally. But there he was. And so I if you guys are familiar with a band called the Vibrants. Did you guys ever hear the Vibrants? In my opinion, those guys were so far ahead of all of us. Oh, are you kidding? Larry and Jesse, those guys were smoking guitar players. I couldn't believe it. I used to sit there. Now, I was like a girl with those guys. I'd go and see those guys and just sit there. I couldn't believe it. I could never get their sound. And what they did, I found out later years that how they got their sound was they poked holes in the speakers to get it funky, to get it funky like that. And it was just amazing how good those guys were. They were better than the freaking Beatles ever wished they could be, in my opinion, of course, which is the only one that matters. Anyway, it was.
Oh, you're gonna have everybody running for those Vibrants records now, man.
Those guys, they were great players, man. They were just such great players.
That's cool. That's so great that you guys could
by
all
the way-
inspire each other.
By the way, I have to tell you this, and I probably shouldn't tell you this, but I think the guy from Retail Clerks, I forgot his name, the guy that he was a disc jockey, and he owned Retail Clerks. But he cheated those guys so bad. He wouldn't let them tour. He wouldn't let them do anything. They were such kick-tail players, but he would never let them play anywhere. He had them on contract, and they couldn't go anywhere. So I think we all got cheated. You guys got cheated from hearing really great players. And not only were they great top 40 musicians, but they could play jazz, they could play surf, they could play anything. Those guys were great. That's why I used to sit there like a little girl watching them. Yeah.
That's great. All right, Tim, a couple things kind of tying in with that. Now, you guys also met in school, right? Now, before Live the Ones, we'll go back to the early days when you were playing with other people and that ended up turning into the Live the Ones. What was that initial sort of, big bang for you?
Well, actually, it was, I played drums in junior high school and high school. My senior year of high school, I started going down to Rendezvous Ballroom, listening to Dick Dale. And yeah, I stood there and watching them play. They were really good.
Yeah.
Really good. But I went down there to go dancing with my buddies. And the summer of, I graduated from high school, I was down there and with one of my friends, and he says, "Hey, meet this guy. He's looking for a drummer." That was Eddie Cheverini, and that's how I ended up with surfing. It was Eddie Cheverini and Ray Hunt and myself, and we went into the studio and we recorded Paradise Cove and a couple other things too. Then we added the bass player, Ron Griffith, and
Where did you guys meet Ron? How did you know him?
They found Ron and they found Joe. I didn't know. I didn't know Ray. I didn't know anything, but I hooked up with him. So one summer, we put the band together, and I played with the Surfmen, with Ray Hunt. He left the group maybe a year later, and we replaced him with Jim Mason. And that was the Live Ones. We started playing dances. Gene Weed, disc jockey, KFWB, saw us play. He started using us as a field band for dances. We'd play the dance. Gene Weed would bring, somebody was pushing a record, and we would back up the singer, and they'd do their one or two songs, and then we'd play the rest of the dance. And we did that all over Southern California for a couple of years. If you look on the back of our first album, Surfrider, you'll see that Gene Weed was the one that did the notes on the back of it. And he's the one that named us the Live Ones. It was his idea because he saw us play, and we were all young. By then I was probably 19, maybe almost 20. Jim was a few months younger than me. Joe was a couple of years older. Ron was about the same age. And so we were all young. And we'd get on stage, and at that time, if you saw Jim Mason in the 60s, he was a muscle builder. I mean, he was built. if you look at the pictures, you see his shoulders. And he wears, his clothes were so tight, he'd be running around the stage, humping his arms up. He'd break the sleeves out of his shirts. He'd break the seams in his pants. He was one of the first to start using the cordless pickups or wire for his guitar. And so he'd be running across the stage and he'd run into the wall while he was playing. This one song we did was, I think it was Tranquilizer that we did, where Ron would play with a little small baseball club on the frets. I would stand on my drums. Eddie would stand on his guitar, and Jim would run into the walls. So that's how we got our name, the Lively Ones. That's it.
Is that lively? Is this crazy?
That was both. That was both.
Crazy life.
But so that's how I met the guys. So one summer I'm at Rendezvous watching Dick Dale play, and about 2 years later we were playing on that same stage. Dick had left there and he was doing something else, I'm not sure what. And so we were playing on this stage, not often, but we played down there, and we got to back up a lot of really good entertainers in that time that I was doing it. The Righteous Brothers, we did that a couple of times. One of them at Rendezvous, one up at Santa Barbara College, Sonny and Cher, we backed them up at Pinnacle Peak on Garden Grove and Beach Boulevard. Also at Pinnacle Peak, we backed Lou Rawls, but I got a long list of people that we backed up over the years, just for 1 or 2 songs. But I got to say, I played with that person, and it's kind of neat. We'll be listening to something someplace, hear a song, and I'll tell my wife, I played with that person. But what's really neat is I get to say that I have a connection with the people in Pulp Fiction, because they used one of our songs at the end of the record, at the end of the movie, for about 20 minutes. So I have connection with all those people, and I get to say that. They don't know me, but I know them.
And that is very special, of course.
But Jonpaul was asking me, where we played and where we rehearsed, and we did all our recording in a little studio out in El Monte. The engineer was Bob Summers. It was his studio. It was a little house converted into a studio. He had a sound echo chamber that was a long hallway that he had the whole thing tiled. So he piped songs in one end and pick it up at the other end. And that's how he got his echo chamber, was through that hallway. And we'd go out there, and our first album was basically our playlist. That was our playlist when we did dances. And then our second album, we added some more songs to it. Bob Summers wrote some songs for us. We'd go to his studio. He'd teach us the song, we'd rehearse the song, and then we'd record it. But a lot of the stuff on our first album was like first or second takes, because it's stuff we played all the time. So it just kind of came to us. And then we added more stuff as we went. Bob Klein, the owner of the record company, he wanted to put out more records, so he put out a new album. He put about 4 or 5 new songs and a bunch of songs from our other albums. And I didn't really like that, but it was nice having 5 albums out there. It was kind of nice. But so I played with them until '95, and then I left the Lively Ones. I went to work for a singer, Jerry G. It was Jerry G and the Break of Dawn, and I played with him for 5 years, and then in 1970 I stopped playing. I didn't play again until '99, Rendezvous Ballroom reunion at the Hard Rock Cafe, and I just by accident ran into somebody that knew about it, Dano. You all know Dano Nicholas from the Dynatones, and we lost him about 7 years ago. But he bought he bought a book about surf music, and he's going through his book, and he turns the page, and there was a picture of the Lively Ones, and he was a superintendent for a builder, Orange County builder. I was a window salesman that sold windows to the job that he was running, and he saw my picture in there, and the next time I came in, he said, "Why didn't you tell me you were the drummer for the live?" How did I know he was a guitar player for the Dynatones? so that's how I ended up with playing with the Dynatones. Is their drummer broke his wrist, and they needed a drummer. And I had told them, I said, if you ever need somebody to fill in, let me know. That was in 2002, I think. So I started playing with them, replacing the drummer, and sometime between them, that time and 2017, I became the regular drummer. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I played with them longer than I did the lively ones.
Wow.
So,
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. See, people, it's so interesting. People think that, in your mind, that period was it's the glory days, but it was such a tiny little window
It was.
of time.
Yeah, it was 5 years for me. And Phil talks about other bands. I was all focused on what we were doing. I really didn't pay much attention to other bands that are around. We did Battle of the Bands, and all I wanted to do was just beat them. And we early on in the lively ones, we had all our amplifiers stolen, and so Gene Weed financed us going out and buying 3 brand new double speaker Showmans. So, I mean, we were blowing everybody off the stage with those amps.
Yeah, you were.
We went to Santa Cruz. We did jam session or Battle of the Bands up in Sacramento, and I was just having fun. I was just a dumb kid having fun playing. My wife asked me, "Did you get an autograph from that person when you backed him up?" I didn't think about it at the time. Yeah, I wish I had. I would have had a lot of really good pieces of autographs and pictures and stuff if I'd done it. But I was just a kid, just playing surf music like a lot of these guys, a lot of these legends. That's how they started. They were just playing what everybody else was playing, trying to play it better. The lively ones, the thing about the lively ones is they seemed to take a song that was a good song and they sped it up. Everything we did was faster, and it worked for us. But our bass player played 8th notes on everything. Everything was walks. He walked, 8th notes through all the songs, and that's what gave it all that punch. And I don't hear people duplicate that when I hear them play lively one songs,
No,
but that's really what made it.
He's really like the, kind of undervalued hero of surf bass.
Yeah.
If you really listen, I don't think people are listening close enough, and that's a problem. I'm always saying, active listening, like really, really, really listen. Like put on the headphones, get in there, really listen to what's happening on all the layers. But the stuff he's playing is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. How much movement? There's so much movement that adds to that lively feeling.
It just pushes it and drives it. And my drumming was a little different. It had a little different sound because I never had lessons, and my first drum set was like the one behind us here, and I set it up like the picture in the catalog, and I started playing it. But I was left-handed, so I started leading with my left hand. So I was playing a right-handed set with a left-handed lead, and that kind of made the stuff that I did a little different. I think that's what gives me a little different sound, and some of the runs I did are a little different because of that. But that's kind of my history as far as music.
Thank you very much. Thanks for sharing. Thank you guys both. Really appreciate it. I know we're limited for time, but maybe if anyone has any burning questions in the audience they'd like to ask. Yes, Mr. Henson.
If I'm correct, Jim Masoner is from Anaheim area?
Jim lives in Anaheim, still does.
And do you guys rehearse around there?
We rehearsed in Orange County sometimes, Anaheim, sometimes at my house in Whittier, sometimes at our manager's house, also in Whittier.
Did you play at Harmony Park in Anaheim?
I don't remember if we did or not.
It was like a block away from where the Dollhead is.
I don't remember.
Okay.
That's the problem with it. I was away from it for so long, and I forgot about it. I didn't even think about it until I ran into Dano, and that's how we ended up playing hard rock. And that's how the lively ones got back together in '99.
That's another thing for the crowd. When they played at the Rendezvous reunion, the Lively Ones were the only band to have all the original members there that day. It was really cool.
Yeah, we did it then, and then I think a year or 2 years later, we did it one more time. And then we kind of lost touch with Ron. And I don't know what happened to him. But there's still 4 of us are still kicking. 3 of us still in this area.
In your last gig with the Dynatones and with the Lively Ones, what is that, SG-101 at Alpine Village?
Yeah.
About 7 years ago.
Yeah, there were 4 of us, all 4 of us there, right? That was kind of neat for me because I got to play with the Dynatones and I got to play with the Lively Ones at the same time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We got to do that also down at the Huntington Beach at the pier. We did that one time too. So.
You know what's scary? These people, they know more about us than we do.
Yeah, don't ask my wife any questions.
One more question. One question for both of them. Is it amazing to you that the surf made such a revival, and from John Blair in '79 till now has basically been going, and that it's worldwide and such a huge thing compared to what it was back then? That it's blown up, and with the internet helping it, would you have ever thought that it would become what it is now?
I don't know about Phil, but Will. I'm sorry, Will. We just met today. I forget what I was going to say. Well, I'm sorry, I forgot what I was going to say.
It was a senior moment. That's okay. And the question was, what happens is, when you're playing surf music, you're doing it at that time. And then next thing you know, life comes in. You get thrown into the army. And then when you come back, somehow surf is dissipated. and you have to play whatever music you can play to continue. And when I came back from the army and everything, there was no surf music for me, so I went into rhythm and blues. But we played and backed up a lot of the same people, by the way.
Yeah.
Sonny and Cher,
Yeah.
backed up Tina Turner,
Yeah.
and James Brown and all these people. And you just think, wow, why couldn't some of that talent have rubbed off on us? Why couldn't we got some of those connections? Yeah.
Yep. Well, okay.
Were you amazed that the surf scene now has gotten so big and so long compared to what the original wave was?
Yeah, I didn't even know anything about surf music. It was still going until I hooked up with Dano. I thought surf music was dead. Then he told me, all your stuff is re-released. Our albums were put on CDs.
So the whole Pulp Fiction
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, that got it all started again. For us, for the live events, that got it started again.
Well, I think people like Unsteady Freddy and Lorizzo has been keeping it alive all over, even in Europe. I mean, it's just amazing how big it is supposedly over there. I was supposed to go over there, by the way. I kind of chickened out because I don't like airplanes. And so that's the only way I could get over there. I wasn't getting on the plane. But anyway, I just can't believe how big it is and how many new bands there are and the different sounds that they have, and how, in my opinion, it's a lot different. Surf music now is a lot different than when we play surf music.
Yeah, it is.
It's more power surf, in my opinion, than it was then.
A lot of influences over the years have gone into what now is surf.
Yes, but every now and then, they sneak back in there and they play, songs from the Lively Ones.
I get to sneak in there and play every once in a while too. When we went to Japan in 2008, I went with the Dynatones, and you know Eddie. He gave me 2 45s, Lively Ones 45s, that were on a different label that were released in Japan. So talk about being worldwide. you know, that was, I was really surprised. Also got a book when we were in Germany. We played in Germany. I got a book written in German, just the history of surf music, and there's a lively one. So, you know, it's amazing that, you know, things that I found out after, and I knew nothing about.
It's a legacy, 100%. Does anybody else have any questions before we wrap up? Rob.
I just want to bring up that both guys had music in very influential movies. One was Pulp Fiction for Tim and Big Eyes, and Will was also in Bikini Beach. And so my question is, like, what was that impact of being involved in those projects? And Will, what was it like being in that Frankie on the scene there?
Well, it was very interesting meeting Frankie, but I was more interested in Donna Lauren. You can bet. This is what happened. I was sick when we first started doing the shooting, and I came there like a week later, and I walk over to these two guys sitting there, and I said, "Hey, man, I really want to meet this guy, Frankie, man. He's just amazing to see him on screen." And he gets up and walks away. It was Frankie, of course. I couldn't believe it. I tried to hunt him down to apologize, you know, but every time he would see me, he would just dash. It's funny, yeah. But Donna Lauren, on the other hand, wow. When she saw me on the scene, she came over. She had this towel around her head, you know, because they just put her in makeup. And she just started talking, and I was just like in awe. I couldn't believe it. That Donna Lauren was right in front of me, man, the Dr. Pepper girl. Next thing you know, we became friends just like that. And she was such, when you sing with her in person, you don't get the same feel as when you hear her on the record. Her voice was so powerful. You know, I'd sing with her and she'd be belting out these notes and I go, man, why? I never wanted, I was supposed to do a duet. In fact, I was supposed to do a duet with her. And do you know who Timmy Euro is? Don't you know that lady that sang Don't You Know? I was supposed to do a duet with her. And I said, you got to be kidding. She goes, don't you know? And I'm going, no, I don't. It was just like killer. My voice was so thin back then, you know. For me to sing with her would have been just killer. We did a show together, and I sang like half of the verse, and I just walked off the stage. She was just killing me. It was just amazing how good she was. She was about that tall. I couldn't believe it. She always wore a bandana, you know, like a debt. Finally, at the end, started wearing a bandana. She was wearing one of those back then. Didn't know what that was all about, by the way. Why would she do that? Anyway, because she's such a pretty girl. Why would she, you know, do that to? Oh well. Anyway. I'm sorry. I don't know why I went there except.
Two things. I'm going to piggyback off Rob's question. But what impact did you guys appearing in the film have on your career? Like, was it like, okay, that came out, people saw the pyramids in the movie, and then the record sales went through the roof kind of thing? How did that work?
This is what happened. One day, John Hodge comes into our rehearsal and he says, I'm cutting off all your hair. My hair was about this long. When he did that, my hair was pretty long back then. I said, no, you're not. So they cut off all of our hair. We went opposite the Beatles. From that, we went to Dick Clark. From Dick Clark, we went to the movie. And it's history. And I've always been mad with John Hodge because now I don't have my long hair anymore.
But that bald thing really had an impact. I mean, it freaked people out. They were like, what the heck? What are these kids doing? And the flips and the whole thing. Like, it was, I mean, even when you watch it now, it has an impact.
I go walking into the restaurant about a month ago. In the restaurant, I'm in my dirty clothes, and I go into this restaurant, to get a snack and to go back to work. And as I walk into the door, this guy goes, "I know you." And I look around. He says, "You're one of those bald-headed guys." 30, 40, 50, 60 years later, how in the world did that guy recognize me from way back then? So it had an impact on people, believe me.
It's a cult movie. I mean, it's totally cult, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool. Any other questions?
Now,
Yes.
for Will, did they really fly in on a helicopter?
Okay, so you've heard some of those crazy stories too. Okay. We used to always try to upstage the Beach Boys. They would come in their limousines. We'd come in on elephants. They'd come in their limousines. We'd come in on helicopters. We would, John Hodge, by the way, spent all our money. And that's where it went, due to all those crazy things. But what happened is, it really made us known all over the world. You know, these little kids from Long Beach, all the crazy things that he did. You get to go, Johnny.
All right. Since we're so close to where the airport club was in Seal Beach and later the Marina Palace, can you guys, I mean, either of you, did you both play there? I know that you played there.
Yeah,
Tell
sure.
us a little about airport club / Marina Palace, who you guys playing there, who else you played with?
That's where I first. Well, okay, that's where I very first saw Jimi Hendrix for the first time. He was playing with Little Richard, and he was just a killer guitar player back then. But we played with a lot of people and met a lot of people during that time period from the Marina Palace and all that sort of thing. We played with a lot of people. It was amazing. Oh, by the way, speaking of the Rendezvous, we did the Rendezvous only once. John Hodge, he was always, no matter what we did, he always wanted to do something to bring attention to the pyramids. So what do you think the guy does? He says, "I want you guys to strip on stage." So this, and I know you guys have probably seen this picture. We go up on the stage and we're rocking out, but we're in trench coats, right? So we're rocking out, and all of a sudden we go into this deal and we all face each other. Now, we weren't strapped, but we did. I mean, we were just stripped down to our bathing suits, if you can imagine. But we strapped and all the girls screamed, and I don't know, somebody happened to be there with a camera, and a news reporter happened to be there, just happened to be there. We get a big write-up in the paper, pyramids stripping the Rendezvous. So we were banned from the Rendezvous.
The one show.
One show.
Wow, good for you. Well done.
My mother didn't like it.
But I'll bet the publicity was fantastic.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that guy, he was great. If the guy would have just been honest, he could have made $1 million with us. But you know what he did was he just had these $500 suits and ripped off everybody. But anyway, oh, I can remember that guy's name, that disc jockey, Rebel Foster. You guys remember Rebel Foster?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He was a nice guy otherwise, though. Your turn.
Oh, we talked about DJs. We did
No, back to Dominic's question about the clubs, the local clubs in Seal
The
Beach.
airport club and the Marina Palace over here at Seal Beach.
Yeah, no, I don't know that we played there. I don't remember playing it. So I couldn't tell you anything about it as far as the library goes.
Mr. Robinson was a big influence on me, by the way, from the airport club. He used to pull me aside all the time. I'd go in and he'd pull me aside and go, "I want you to be different than the other entertainers that come here." I'd look around and go, "Who the heck am I?" But anyway, he says, "I want you to be different because you're the only black," and I want to stress that, but he says, "You're the only black entertainer that comes here and is very, very quiet. I want you to continue that." And I did. Except for on the dance floor, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. Let's give Tim and Will a big round of applause. And thanks, gratitude for being here with us and sharing this great story. It's a real pleasure for us to hear what it was like.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I hope we answered all those good questions for you. I know there are a million other questions that you'd like to ask, and I'm sure that you'd like to ask some personal ones, of which I'm not going to answer.
Oh, come on.